hip abduction machine, or what I like to call the bad girl machine, just to make things simple. Now, the point of this is to help your hips push outward. So there's a couple different ways that we can do this. I have my ways that I like to do specifically to work certain portions of the muscle and take the workload off of others, but there are other ways for other reasons. Now, if you'll notice, my pads for my hips are straight up and down. This is not always the case, so it can make getting into position a little bit more difficult, but I want you to know the differences between if your pads are coming inward, or if they're straight, or even if they are slightly outward. So if I come in, I want to make sure that I'm getting myself into the biggest hip stretch that I can, because I'm going to be working the lateral portion of my glute and my abductors. So typically you would just grab your handles, brace your abs, and as you press out, try to go out as far as you possibly can and avoid any torso twisting. Now, you want to make sure that you keep control and then maybe even get a pause on the outside. As for making this a bit more specific, what I like to do is try to put my heels together and roll my thighs out. If you're having a hard time doing that with your machine at this current stretch, you can take it one notch out and put your heels together. You may not be getting a huge range of motion on this in comparison, but you will get a much different muscle feel, and it could be very beneficial. So I'm going to take my toes and turn them out and keep my heels fairly close together. Now, as I go through, I want to be very, very sure that I am pushing out with my thighs. I am not applying pressure to the pedals with my feet. Now, as I go through, same deal, I want to brace, hold my handles, and go out as wide as I can. But you can see there's a big difference in my positioning here compared to before. What this should allow you to do is work more in your glute medius, which is going to be back here in the lateral portion in the back, rather than up here in your TFL. And sometimes it can be much more beneficial to work that glute medius this way rather than overworking that TFL. Now, if I were to take this machine and have my knees inward or even just straight up and down, and then I press out, there's a good chance that I'm going to feel this right up on top of my hip bone, right here, and possibly going down the thigh. If you feel that, you're likely working your TFL. In most cases that I've seen, it's already overworked and you're not going to want to. You're going to rather want to use the other version, that way you can work your glute medius. However, there is going to be other cases where you need to do that. So if you have poor internal rotation, that TFL will help. So you can always turn your toes in, and I can keep my knees slightly knocked. So as I press out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press out more so with my feet. And I'm going to feel this up on top of that hip and possibly down the thigh. Like I said, in most cases, this may be totally unnecessary because these muscles have a tendency to already be overworked.